from very plain drawings depicting animals, prey dating back to the 7th millennium, the paintings and engravings of the 5th millennium, when mankind augmented hunting with agriculture, began representing not only human beings, but also geometric signs like rectangles and circles, which probably symbolized fields. With the advent of the 1st millennium, drawings began depicting weapons, and human muscles and genitals were used to express the ideals of virility and superiority to which the commoners aspired. Not least, religious iconography, dating back to the late European Middle Ages, was symbolic of both the outstanding presence of religion in people's imagery and the fact that the church was to painters a client to please just because it was so powerful and rich. No doubt, as for any manifestation of human wit, the techniques that are used to reproduce images have benefited from an evolution that has lasted ages and ages. Talking about images as a whole, not just of painting, therefore of photography too, we can affirm that the camera belongs to this same evolution. Actually, this does not mean that photography is a development of painting or a media that has simply merged with it. It stands out since it possesses its own language, and photography's own language code should not be found in the technical item at all. What makes the difference is not the use of brushes or of the camera. The painter creates his image from nothing. He uses his great handicraft to show the image that has been formed in his fantasy at first. Throughout such a process, he then applies his own style, his recognizable sign. The photographer, instead, can't do the same. He can actually do without the painter's handicraft, but his work can just get out of what really exists. If, as for Van Gogh and his works dedicated to flowers, I, as a photographer, want to show my poppies, I should turn to my own perception of the same poppies, even though this perception spurs myself to transfigure their reality as objects, freely turning them into something else, especially in the case these poppies are something else as for my own perception. I do believe this is somehow the reversal of Roland Barthes' concept called punctum, which the author deals with in his amazing work entitled La Chambre Claire, the light room. No detail recalling the observer's unconscious attention, but the perception of something forming in the photographer's mind before clicking. The concept for which painting would emphasize the gap with reality, whereas instead photography would represent it as it truly is then overcome by the photographer's ability of representing not just reality, but his own one, his individual view that, going beyond material things, recognizes the capability photography has to distance itself from objective reality. I neither aim at raising photography to the level of painting, nor do I want to consider it inferior. Actually, I believe that the fulfillment of any work of art, meaning any artistic expression, does not depend on the instruments used to release it, but on the artistic spur. I defy any artist to claim that his work is art since he has used brushes or the chisel. It would be as if you told a chef that his recipe is delicious since he has used excellent pots and pans. The least he could do would be to throw them on top of you. I believe, then, that it's the artistic spur that makes an artist as such, not the way in which he fulfills it, and such artistic spur inspires any human creative expression, and then the photographer's one as well. The only difference may lie in the fact that, as for painting, the creative spur is taken for granted, acquired and developed by an expressive instinct that has been working for ages and ages. I think the artistic spur has not got full recognition as a source of inspiration yet. This could be fully shareable as for documentary photography, a bit less as for interpretative photography. For perceptive photography, this can't be shared at all. The reason why the artistic spur has not been recognized yet may be not only the reading of the image, but indeed its forming. Baudelaire used to say, photography's lack of art is due to the automaticity of the camera compared to the photographer's conscience. The photographer who uses the camera as a creative vehicle will not allow his creative spur to spring out, whereas instead it's indeed the creative spur that eventually forms the image. Technique, as well as the camera, work just to make it visible at its best. Documentary photography is nothing but the photocopy of reality, so that I shoot this pen exactly as it appears to be, even without using either any further or studied light. In interpretative photography, the starting point is that around this same pen I have 360 degrees at disposal to show my own point of view. Moreover, I can also emphasize the object I am shooting by arranging a set lit up in a very peculiar way. In perceptive photography, I shoot the object neither as a document nor as an interpretation. I actually shoot the message between the object and me. In photography, we consider as latent image the one impressed on the photographic paper before processing it, or the one on the sensor of our digital camera before being finally shown. Isn't it a latent image too, the one springing out of the painter's soul before taking up any brush? And isn't it a latent image too, the one the photographer has in his mind before clicking? Nilleifer maintains that photography does not show reality at all, but reveals the idea one has of it. However, the idea we have of the reality around us comes from our own way of being, our history, our experiences. It's unique, as well as our calligraphy is. It's through our own way of snapshotting the world, even transfiguring it, that the vision of our perceptive experience comes to light. To turn our peculiar vision into a photo, we have two things at disposal. On one side, the technical process, that is within anybody's reach. On the other, our own perception. And what is more peculiar than our own perception of the world? If our calligraphy is the unique mark of our personality, then photoprintigraphy is the sign of our own vision of the world. And it's by means of our own photoprintigraphy that we can make our point of view recognizable in interpretative photography. Yet, we can make our own style sight indeed unique in perceptive photography. Thank you.